up in Compton is, man, I mean, like I can say, like over the years, everybody have given you their different perspective about growing up in Compton. I mean, you have Dre's perspective, you have E's perspective, but I'm gonna give you mine. And what was such a trip about growing up in Compton is the gangs. For one, Compton is not a very big city. You know, for one, anybody that thinks that Compton is big as LA, no, it's not. Compton is a couple of fucking blocks. I mean, you can basically roll through Compton in 30 minutes. You know what I mean? And went through the whole city. So, and Compton had so many gangs. That's what it was. Compton is a very small city, but Compton had so many gangs for a very small city because every other block was a different gang. And it was like you could be on one side of the streets, it's Crips. You could go on the other side of the streets, and the shit is Bloods. You know, so it's like if you didn't know what the hell you was doing, you have your ass caught up on the wrong side of the street. And then the other thing about in Compton is you had a grandmother that lived in a blood neighborhood. Then you had a grandmother that lived in a Crip neighborhood. So me, I ain't gonna even lie. When I was growing up with that shit, I didn't know what gang to be with. I didn't know if I wanted to be at the red or I wanted to be with the blue. So I told them niggas, I'm with both of y'all. I'm a Karoo, I'm a Crip, and a Pyru. I was both of them. You know what I mean? Not really both of them, but that's how I played with the shit. When I went over there with my grandmother's house where they was Crips, I act like I was a Blood. When I went over there with my grandmother's house where the Bloods was, I pretend like I was a Crip. But I didn't like gang banging early on because I had lost a lot of friends to it. And you know, once you start losing friends and different people to that stuff, it becomes not cool. You know what I'm saying? At first, it was like a thing where people were doing their thing, and then we even had school rivalries. I went to Centennial and Compton High. We used to couldn't even have football games because they would shoot out at the football games. People then got shot in the head and all type of stuff. So for years, Compton and Centennial couldn't even have games together because Centennial was considered the blood school, Compton was considered the Crip school. So we went through a lot of that shit. So when I see the kids and the stuff doing this shit now, I'm like, y'all know we already fucked up on that already. You know, so it's nothing against it. I just saw it before and I know what the fuck it turned into. So that's why I speak on it like that. But Compton wasn't just about the gangs. Compton was known for the cars. We had a lot of guys out there that had the low riders. Had a guy in my neighborhood was only like 13, 14 and had a convertible BMW. You know what I mean? Back in those days, you know. So it was like a lot of money flowing through the city of Compton. Don't get the game twisted. They talk about all these other dope dealers in all these other motherfucking cities, but let me tell you, baby, Compton had some motherfucking bread. They had the cars, they had the houses, they had some shit up in Compton. Okay? I ain't gonna name no names because this ain't 48 hours. I ain't finna tell you what niggas was balling and who had the bread and all that shit, but Compton niggas was rolling. They had beeper shops early on. They had phone shops and all that type of shit in Compton. Niggas was on this shit and all that. And I can even remember, I'm gonna give y'all a little nugget. Uh, when the riots happened, right? We actually had a fire, right? And they burned down some shit. Do you know that Garth Brooks, the country singer, came down to Compton and actually paid money to get our whole center redone? I'll never forget that Garth Brooks did that. Shout out to you, Garth Brooks. You looked out for us. He gave money to Compton, and they had named the center after him, the Garth Brooks Center. So that's a little nugget that y'all may not know. The Bushes grew up in Compton. If you didn't know that much, the Bushes. Kevin Costner is from Compton. There's a lot of people that grew up in Compton. My uncle's high school book is him. He's like maybe 5 to 6 only black kid at Compton High School in his yearbook. So there's a lot of things that people don't know. Compton, I'm gonna tell you another thing about Compton. Compton is a horse city. We had a whole area over there in Compton that's called the Farms. You will catch dudes and riding down the street on their horse out of nowhere in Compton. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know that part of Compton. That we got a whole area where horses is with no sidewalks and all that, and we call that area the farms. You know, so a lot of people are very familiar with horses and stables and shit like that in Compton. Another thing y'all didn't know. See, Compton got some shit on y'all. And another thing that I can say about Compton that was super duper cool was that we would have like picnics in the park and stuff where all the lowriders would come in the fancy cars and the guys would hit the switch and whoever car went the highest they get like $5,000 $10,000. We were a very big lowrider city and motorcycles. Those guys, most of the guys have started riding Harleys now. Dudes in Compton been riding Harleys since the 70s and the 80s, man. Harleys and all that type of shit, cars, that shit, I'm telling you, man, that is Compton shit. But like I said, everything has its up and down. Compton, we're known for good food. If you've never been to Mom's Burgers, Oprah talked about Mama Naka's. You've never been to Mama Naka's, that's in Compton. We had this place called Taco Joe's that used to make this bomb ass taco burgers and the good meat and all. I don't know where the hell Taco Joe's went, but they were good. And another thing most people don't know is Compton has an airport. Now, the airport is not where you're going to come fly in or fly out to go to New York or none of that. It's a small airport. But a guy from out of town came in and he was like, hey, yo, why y'all didn't tell me y'all could have flew straight into Compton? I was like, nigga, ain't no flights coming in here. I'm sorry, partner. There's no flights coming in there. But you can go learn how to fly a plane. But I'm going to tell you, through the years, the planes were known to crash. They used to crash right on Central in the people's backyard. Nobody would really, I can't remember too many deaths or anything, but they did used to crash on people right into the brakes. I don't know what the hell was going on, if the pilots was drunk, high, or what the hell happened, but they did. Another thing that people didn't know about Compton is we had, not only is Compton blacks, but we have a big Mexican, Latinos are in Compton D. But years ago, we had Samoans. I went to junior high with Samoans, and Samoans used to live in what we call the Wilmington Arms, right off of Alondra, and they would be out there burning pigs. They had, it was just like they was in Hawaii. They used to have their clothes, their Hawaiian clothes out on the line and all that, and I remember my homegirl, Big Lisa. Big Lisa. That's why every time I see The Rock, I be thinking like Rock might have been kin to the families that lived over there. Big Lisa, that was my homegirl. But yeah, we had that. We had a lot of little bars going on in Compton. It was cool. So don't get it twisted thinking that if you come to Compton, you're going to get robbed, you're going to get killed. Because most of y'all don't know Compton is very green grassy and very, very nice looking. But don't let that nice shit fool you. You'll fuck around and get hurt and gone.